Rivals brought to you by Utah Ice Centers has arrived, and we are going to the NFL, as in they had some crazy rule changes. One of the big ones was the catch rule.
The catch rule.
It's kind of changed.
Yeah, but I think it's for the better.
So if you catch the ball, and it can kind of roll around in your hands, but you maintain the catch, you are in bounds, and if you make any movement, the third step or lunging forward with the ball, that's called a catch now. Do you like that, Jason?
Yeah, I like it. I think the NFL does a good job of when they make a mistake, they come back and they generally, make the right decision afterwards, even if they, blow it once. So I always have hope. If I hear a rule that I'm not liking it that year, generally I can count on them getting it right.
Do you really care about the catch rule? I mean, did you even catch a ball in your career? Did you ever have an interception?
No, never did.
Did you ever bat a ball?
No, because we'd always laugh at the guys that were batting balls.
Oh, so
they were the guys that weren't getting a pass rush.
I'm a blue blood. I refuse to bat down a pass.
I'm
always too good for it.
No, I was always getting a hit on the quarterback. I was back there on the edge, getting in the pocket. There'd be the guys that got stuck on the front of the line of scrimmage. They'd start jumping up and down like this. They would get a batted ball, and we'd all make fun of them because they didn't get any pressure.
Because they couldn't get to the quarterback.
That was the joke on the
I kind of liked those guys that went like this and couldn't get any pressure on the quarterback. They're kind of my favorite defensive lineman. All right, well, here's another obscure rule I think was a good move by the NFL. If you remember in the playoffs when the Minnesota Vikings had that improbable win against the New Orleans Saints on the last play of the game, they win the game. Of course, New Orleans is just mortified, and so they get off the field. And Minnesota, they're ecstatic, and they're running around, like a chicken with its head cut off because they just won. And their rule says they have to line up for the extra point. Even though it makes no bearing, it has no interest in the outcome of the game, by rule, you still had to line up for the extra point. Well, that stinks. That stinks if you lose because you don't want to stand around there, and it stinks if you win because, everyone's on the field and you're celebrating. Yeah. So the NFL did another nice move where they just eliminated that. An extra point try at the end of the game, if the outcome's already decided, no longer has to be in effect.
I agree with that one. The one I'm really worried about, Scott, is the lowering the head rule. I think that's going to hit a gray area. We're going to see a lot of problems with that this year. Where last year, targeting with the crown of your helmet, they would call that, and I'm okay with that. And sometimes they made the wrong call on that, right? You'd be like, oh, that guy was trying to come in with a shoulder. Well, now a running back that lowers his head by this rule could be called for a 15-yard penalty and even ejected by getting his head down.
So now they're injecting players? If you do a bad job, we're going to eject you. Yeah. And you'll see if you cause a penalty
it's
anymore.
Hard to come in for a tackle, and you're coming in and breaking down to get your head across, and you got to lower your leverage and get in a tackling position to explode through them. And how do they make that call that you're lowering your head or you're not lowering your head? And I think it's going to be too much of a gray area. It's probably a rule that'll be changed in another year or massaged somehow.
I think one thing we both agree on is that the NFL tries really hard to get it right. And even if they don't get it right, they're willing to change. Or in the case of this rule, they're willing to make a temporary solution become a permanent one. So there was a new rule where if there was a touchback on a kick, the ball automatically went to the 25-yard line. Well, that was a test rule, and now they've etched it in stone, and it now is a rule that is permanent. I'll give you an interesting history. So if you wonder why the crossbars are so tall in the NFL, I don't know if anyone's ever wondered that, but the goalpost, as it goes up, it seems like it extends out into eternity, and there's a reason why. The reason is that when Coach Don Shula was coaching for the Baltimore Colts, they were in Green Bay, and the Packers kicked a kick, and if you look on film, it's clearly a miss. Yeah. But they had the shorter goalposts. And Shula, who was on the competition committee, said, we need longer goalposts because this is too hard. It's too hard for an official to look up and see if
miss a lot of calls.
And see if it's right. And so that was as a result of a bad thing happening. And anyways, through the history of the NFL, the league has always done a great job of if there's a wrong, they try to right it, they try to make it good in the future.
They do. They've done a great job at that.
All right, Rivals has arrived, and now it's time to go. Text Rivals to 65537. Go to all those social sites and like us. And if you're halfway smart, you push the podcast button on your phone, type in Rivals. There we are. Until then, we will catch you soon.
See you there.